Hi everyone, it's Nicole here for Kerri Bradford Studio, and I have a couple of cards all created with die cut images from Kerri's kits and die cut with the Silhouette Cameo die cutting machine. And I have created a couple of holiday themed vehicle cards, and I am sharing ideas on how to add texture and interest to your cards when you're creating a card that is created mainly from die cut images. What I have done is I die cut all of the images from several of Kerri's kits, and I will talk a little bit about those as I go through making these cards and tell you exactly which ones I've used, plus they'll be listed and linked below the video here. But this is the inside panel from the postcard frame from the Life Editions 2 kit. And I thought the postcard frame kind of framed up the vehicle scene nicely, and so I made sure and die cut all the elements for it from different colors of cardstock so that it was really fun and interesting to look at. But I wanted my background rather to be white but still have some texture. And the way I'm doing that is I'm using an Impression Obsession Cover a Card stamp, which is a really big 6x6 background stamp. This is actually the gradation stamp, and I'm using the My Favorite Things Grout Gray ink. It says it's a gray ink, which it is, and here you can kind of see that texture a little bit maybe when I hold it close to the camera, but it adds just enough color so it kind of gives it that snowy background so it isn't so stark white. Now for the car, I forgot to turn my video camera on. I apologize about that. It is die cut from some Simon Says Stamp cardstock, and I used the canvas Cover a Card Impression Obsession stamp with the blue raspberry My Favorite Things ink. So very tone on tone. And then for the tree, I used, pardon me, that was the canvas, I believe. And then I used the screen on the car. And it just adds fun texture to the die cut images. It makes them much more interesting, I think, to look at than just flat cardstock. They would look really cute that way too, but this is just like that extra step to really make your die cut images come to life. Now to finish it, I thought a stamped greeting would look really nice. This is the Merry Little Christmas Greeting from the W+9 stamp set with the same name. And I inked up part of it with the My Favorite Things Black Licorice ink, and then the other part of the greeting with the Wild Cherry My Favorite Things ink. I have adhered, or I'm going to adhere the car here to a black die cut. This is the exact same size as the car, but I'm slightly offsetting it, giving it a little bit of a shadow, which is going to give my die cut image a little bit more dimension than if I didn't use that. You do not have to, definitely. I just really prefer the look of adding a black or dark gray die cut behind my die cuts, simply to give them that little bit of added interest and to kind of help pop them up from the background, if that makes sense. It really makes them shine. They don't look quite as flat, maybe, is what I'm trying to say. Now I am tying my tree to the top of the car with a little bit of string. This is some fun string from Pretty Pink Posh, and I just used a little white. A colored string would look cute too. And then I'll just tie that into a little knot there and trim up my ends. This is very much like Kerri's sample where she did a little tag, and she did something very similar. It is what inspired these cards, and this is the first one I created. However, I think the next one is even more my favorite, if that's even a way to say it, but I love how these turned out. I think they're really kind of cute and fun and something a little different. I went ahead and adhered my vehicles with some foam adhesive to add a little bit more interest to the design. You can see that I have die cut that postage frame in red. And then I did the offset feature in the Silhouette software on the inside piece so I could die cut that really teeny tiny thin gray frame. And then I have the white. So all of those pieces are an inlay style, the frame pieces, and then the die cuts are adhered on top of that, the additional die cuts, the vehicle. Now the car is and the tree are from the Santa's Workshop kit from Kerri Bradford Design. This is a newer kit. It was also offered in a class, or you can buy the die cuts separately and simply die cut them and use them on whatever you would like. I'm going to use my zig glue pen to add a line of glue all the way around my frame, adhere that to a white card base, and then I'm going to trace right around that with my glue pen again and pop in that really thin gray frame. This was the best way I found to adhere that little teeny tiny frame, and then adhere my stamped white background. I did add some enamel dots to the inside of the tires, and then I thought it would be fun to finish with some white and gray enamel dots scattered here and there. That is it. That is all I did for this card. It's really quite simple. I die cut all of the pieces using the Silhouette, added a little background stamping tone on tone for each of the pieces, and then put the card together. These are really fun. You could even die cut a bunch of these shapes all at once and create several cards of the same style to really make it fun and go quickly. Now this is the second card I created with this adorable little van from the Going Places Kerri Bradford Design kit. Then the wreath is a individual design called the Hollyberry wreath, and the bow is from the Big Red Bow kit. Again, the frame is from the Life Editions too, and it has that great postcard edge. And I'm sorry, I got my head completely in the way trying to ink up my greeting stamp. Before I go and do my background stamping to the individual pieces, I decided to go ahead and stamp my greeting. Again, I am using the Black Licorice and Wild Cherry hybrid inks from My Favorite Things. And this greeting is from the Merriest Wishes W+9 stamp set. I had already stamped that white background with the gradation stamp, Impression Obsession stamp, and the Grout Gray ink. And now I can take that screen print and ink it up with the blue raspberry ink just like I did for the car, and I'll stamp that on the blue portion of the van. For the gray, I am using the herringbone cover a card stamp with the Simon Says Stamp Slate Gray ink. It's a really nice dark gray ink. I wanted something to give a tone-on-tone effect, but in a very dark ink. And then I can go ahead and put these pieces of the van together. Again, just like with my car, I die cut these pieces again from black cardstock, and I'm slightly offsetting them and adhering them on one on top of the other. So the stamped piece on top of a black background, I'll do the same thing for the main portion of the van. I'm using my zig glue pen to add some liquid adhesive, offset that a little bit, and then I can layer on the gray piece of the van on top of the blue. And that will really make this vehicle come to life. Just line that up. And there is the van, almost finished. Now I need to figure out the grill, which I die cut this from, or the bumper here, from some silver metallic paper, a little scrap of paper I had from the December Simon Says Stamp card kit actually, and then I layered it on some black cardstock as well and adhere it to the bottom portion of the van. I love that Kerri has all of these little pieces to the vehicle separate so that you can really build up the design. I think the different colors really make it all come to life. For the little bow, I do have all of the little offset pieces for it as well. which are teeny tiny because I die cut them so small to fit the size of the wreath, but I think it really does make a difference in the end. I love how it turned out. I did not add any background stamping to the red pieces. I definitely could have if I wanted to. They were fairly small, so I didn't think maybe that the background stamping would do a whole lot for these pieces. And instead I opted to take the Wink of Stella clear glitter pen and add a little bit of clear glitter to those once I have my card assembled. So you'll see that in a little bit. Now I didn't add a black die cut behind the wreath simply because it would be very tricky to line up, and I didn't really think it was necessary. So sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. For the most part I do, but for certain little die cut pieces like the wreath, I just really think it doesn't need it. So I can adhere my wreath and the bow to the van. I'm using an acrylic block to hold those down while the glue dries. And again, just like my car card, I adhered my frame, added a thin layer of glue so I could adhere that really thin gray cardstock frame. And then I could adhere that inside panel and assemble the van. I will be adhering it with a little foam adhesive as well. Pop it up off of the background. And I haven't adhered the tires yet. I will adhere those once I have the van in place where I want it to go on the card. And I kind of got it a little too low, but I think it'll work. Just pop that up, add a little glue on the tires. Get those lined up there. And that really comes to life. Now the finishing touch for this card is adding enamel dots to the headlights and just adding a little bit of fun there. Now my one enamel dot disappeared, so I kind of had to pull him out, and I decided that they were almost too small, so I added a little glossy accents first and then popped in those gemstones, and they set up a little higher that way. I'll place some yellow ones here in the headlights. And then I will take a few additional white and gray and add some snowflakes like I did for the car vehicle as well. So just a couple of fun ideas for creating vehicle themed cards and using your digital die cuts from Kerri Bradford to create cards. This would be a great way to mass produce a bunch of cards, maybe for your holiday cards or holiday thank you cards or anything like that. And here's that Wink of Stella adding a little glitter to the bow on my card. I hope you've enjoyed this video showcasing ways to dress up your digital die cuts. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.